In a small town, whispers spread about a hospital where infants never came home. Mothers were told their babies had died, yet no graves existed. Behind white walls and sterilized smiles, a cruel secret thrived, a trade in stolen lives. Subscribe now. Every story we tell is a truth the world tried to bury. The hospital looked like a sanctuary from the outside, whitewashed walls, tall windows catching the morning sun, a crucifix over the main entrance. For decades, mothers stepped inside those doors believing they were safe, believing they were handing their lives over to professionals who would protect both them and their newborns. Anna was 19 when she walked in, clutching her belly. She had no money, no family, except for her younger sister, and no father for the child. In that town, shame was heavier than poverty. The nuns at the hospital welcomed her with calm smiles, assuring her she would be cared for. "Your baby will be fine, child," one whispered, placing a hand on her shoulder. Labor came fast and brutal. Anna screamed into the pillow while the midwives urged her to push. Hours later, her son's cry pierced the sterile room. She barely caught a glimpse of his wrinkled skin before he was whisked away. Exhausted, she drifted into unconsciousness, her heart aching but hopeful. When she woke, the bed beside her was empty. A doctor entered with a clipboard, his tone unnervingly flat. "I'm sorry," he said. "The baby didn't make it." Anna's world cracked. "What? No! He was crying. I heard him cry." She sat up, desperate, begging to see her child's body, to hold him just once. The doctor's eyes hardened. "The hospital will handle everything. Rest now." But Anna never saw a coffin. She never saw a grave. Only silence, and the faint sound of doors closing down the corridor. Anna left the hospital days later, her arms empty, her body aching, her heart clawing itself apart. She stumbled home, her little sister waiting on the porch with a knitted blanket meant for the baby. When Anna told her what happened, the girl wept into her hands. But neither of them questioned the hospital. Who would dare? It was a holy place, run by doctors and nuns, figures of untouchable authority. Still something gnawed inside Anna, the memory of that cry. She knew her baby had been alive. She dreamed of him every night, a tiny face pressed against her chest, lips searching for milk. Each morning she woke with the blanket clutched in her arms. Months passed. Then one afternoon at the town market, Anna's breath caught. Across the square, a wealthy woman held a baby boy. He had the same wide eyes Anna saw in the mirror every day, the same dimpled chin as her late father. Her knees buckled. She whispered, "That's him. That's my son." She rushed forward, but the woman pulled the baby close. "Careful," she snapped. "This is my child." The words struck like a hammer. Anna stammered, asking where she'd given birth. The woman frowned. "He came from the hospital, of course, everything legal, signed papers and all." That night, Anna couldn't breathe. Signed papers. A baby, she was told, had died. A wealthy couple walking proudly with him while she mourned in silence. The whispers began reaching her ears then. Other girls, other mothers, who left the hospital with only tears. Some said the nurses lied, others swore they saw strangers picking up infants at night. Nobody dared speak louder than a whisper until Anna decided she couldn't stay silent anymore. Anna began to ask questions. Quietly at first. She visited the homes of women who had delivered at the same hospital. The pattern was chilling. Poor mothers told their babies had died during childbirth, but no bodies, no graves, no funerals. Just paperwork they were never allowed to read. One woman, grey-haired now, whispered to Anna, "My son was born in 58. They told me he never breathed, but 20 years later, I saw a man who looked just like my husband. I knew—" her voice broke. "I knew it was him." The more Anna listened, the more unbearable it became. The town carried decades of unspoken grief, stitched into its silence like a scar. She returned to the hospital, demanding answers. The head nurse smiled too sweetly, her hands folded in prayer. "You must let go of your sorrow, child. Sometimes God takes little ones early." But Anna's fury burned. She slammed her fist against the desk. "God didn't take him, you did!" That night, as rain lashed against her window, Anna heard a knock. A man she had never seen stood there, cloaked in shadows. He spoke quickly, urgently. "You're not wrong. Babies don't die here, not like they say. They're sold to families who can pay. Doctors, priests, officials, they're all part of it. But if you keep digging, they'll silence you." Before she could reply, he vanished into the night, leaving her trembling. The hospital wasn't just a place of healing, it was a marketplace, and her son was merchandise. Sleep abandoned Anna after that night. Every shadow in her room seemed to whisper, every creak of the floorboards carried the weight of secrets. She clutched the baby blanket, now her only proof that her son had ever existed, and vowed she would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Her first step was the town clerk's office, a dim building lined with dusty shelves of records. She searched the registry for her child's death certificate, page after page, name after name, but nothing. No record of a stillborn, no burial, no trace. It was as if he had never been born at all. When she confronted the clerk, an older man with tired eyes, his face tightened. He whispered, barely audible, "Leave it alone, Anna. You're not the first to come here, and the others—" They disappeared. But Anna pressed harder. Each visit, each whisper, pieced together a picture that was more horrifying than anything she imagined. The hospital wasn't alone. Lawyers signed false adoption papers. Priests blessed new families. Wealthy couples handed envelopes thick with cash. Babies were priced like livestock. One evening, Anna followed a trail of rumors to the edge of town, where a mansion loomed behind iron gates. There she saw it with her own eyes, a carriage arriving, a woman descending with her belly flat, empty. Minutes later, a nun carried out a swaddled infant and placed him into her arms. The woman's face lit with joy. The nun handed over a satchel that clinked with coins. Anna's stomach turned. Her son wasn't dead. He had been sold like all the others. She fell to her knees, whispering into the cold night air. "Where are you, my child? Do you even know I'm alive?" The mansion haunted Anna's mind for days. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw the nun handing over the baby like a parcel, her son's cry echoing inside her memory. Rage hardened into resolve. If the system was built on silence, she would be the one to break it. She began keeping notes, every whisper, every rumor, every name. She hid the papers under the floorboards of her small room, terrified of what might happen if anyone found them. At the market, she overheard a young woman sobbing to her mother. They told me she was stillborn, but I saw her chest move. Anna pulled the woman aside and for the first time spoke aloud. "They're lying. They stole your baby, just like they stole mine." The woman's eyes widened in horror, then relief. She wasn't insane. She wasn't alone. Soon, 2 others joined them. Within weeks, Anna had a circle of grieving mothers, their voices trembling but united. Each story was the same: poverty, shame, loss, and a hospital that profited from their pain, but truth attracts danger. One evening, as Anna returned home, she found her notes scattered across the floor. The boards had been pried open. Panic surged. She rushed to the kitchen. The window was broken. Muddy footprints trailed across the floor. Someone had been there. On the table lay a single piece of paper. Not hers. Just one line, written in neat handwriting. "Stop asking questions or you'll never see daylight again." Her hands shook, but instead of fear she felt her resolve sharpen. They could threaten her, but she had already lost the most precious thing in her life. There was nothing left to take except her silence. And that she would never give them. The warning only deepened Anna's resolve. If they wanted her silence, she would answer with noise. She gathered the women in a candlelit kitchen, the curtains drawn tight. Their voices wavered at first, but soon the dam of grief broke. Each mother confessed the same unbearable story: a baby born, a baby taken, a doctor's cold words. He didn't make it. No graves, no death papers, no chance to say goodbye. One mother slammed her fist on the table. "We should burn that hospital to the ground." But Anna shook her head. "Not fire, truth. We need proof. We need the world to see." So they began watching. At night, they hid near the hospital gates. They saw wealthy carriages arrive, officials slipping inside with hushed voices, nurses leaving with bundles too small to be laundry. Twice, Anna recognized the faces of children she once believed dead, now nestled in the arms of strangers. But with every discovery came a heavier risk. Strange men began loitering near Anna's house. A priest refused her confession, whispering, "Daughter, some sins cannot be absolved. Stop before it is too late." Then one night, a brick crashed through her window. Wrapped around it was a note. "For your son's sake, be silent. He has a better life now." Anna clutched the shattered glass in her hands, tears streaming down her face. Better life? What life could be better than the arms of his own mother? She stared at the flames of the candle flickering on her table and whispered, "If they think fear will silence me, they don't know a mother's heart." Word spread beyond the town. Journalists from the city began to arrive after hearing the mother's whispers. At first, they were skeptical. Poor women with no evidence against a respected hospital. But when Anna led them to the registry and showed them missing death records, when they saw the mansion gates where carriages came and went in the night, doubt began to crack. One reporter, a thin man with ink-stained fingers, leaned toward Anna. "If what you're saying is true, this isn't just a scandal. It's a crime ring. People will want this buried. Are you ready for what that means?" Anna's voice shook, but she didn't hesitate. "I lost my child. What more can they take from me?" The story broke like lightning. Headlines screamed of a hospital of stolen babies. The town was divided. Some refused to believe, defending the nuns and doctors as saints. Others wept as memories resurfaced, realizing their grief had been twisted into profit. Then came the retaliation. The hospital issued a statement calling the mothers liars, hysterical women poisoned by grief. Priests thundered from pulpits, warning against blasphemy. Anonymous letters arrived at Anna's door, each one darker than the last. But the truth had already slipped through their fingers. More mothers stepped forward. More graves that never existed were uncovered. The whispers turned into shouts. One night, Anna stood outside the hospital gates, candles glowing in the hands of dozens of women beside her. Together they chanted for their children, their voices echoing against the white walls like a storm. Inside, behind shuttered windows, the people who once held power finally trembled. The investigation widened. Police raided the hospital records, but so many files were gone, shredded or burned. What they did find was damning: ledgers with initials, numbers, and payments far too large to be donations, adoption papers with forged signatures, letters of gratitude from wealthy families in distant cities. Anna watched as the veil of holiness was torn away. The nuns who once smiled so sweetly were marched out in handcuffs, their habits fluttering in the wind. Doctors who had sworn an oath to save lives stood accused of selling them instead. The town stared in disbelief. Saints turned villains, saviours turned traffickers. But justice was slow and punishment uncertain. Money and influence moved quietly behind closed doors. Some of the guilty vanished before trial, their wealth buying escape. Others pleaded ignorance, claiming they had only followed orders. For the mothers, the damage could never be undone. Their children had been scattered across the country, raised under new names, their true identities erased. Finding them was like searching for stars in daylight. Still, hope refused to die. Some women reunited with grown sons and daughters, the embraces trembling, awkward but real. Others held only faded memories. And Anna? She never stopped searching. Each face in the crowd, each child's laugh on the street, she wondered, "Is it you?" One night, at a candlelight vigil, a boy about 10 years old wandered up to her. His eyes, wide, familiar, froze her heart. He clutched a rosary in his hand and asked, "Why are all these mothers crying?" Anna's throat tightened. She knelt, brushed his hair back, and whispered, "Because love was stolen from them, and we are fighting to get it back." The boy nodded, not understanding, but his gaze lingered on hers, as if searching for something neither of them could name. Years passed, but the scars never healed. The hospital stood abandoned, its windows broken, walls covered in graffiti. Thieves, murderers, traitors. The building that once pretended to be a sanctuary had become a monument to betrayal. Anna, her hair now streaked with grey, still walked the streets with that same knitted blanket folded under her arm. Some called her obsessed, others called her brave. But every mother who had lost a child knew the truth. She carried not madness, but love that refused to die. One evening, standing before the ruins of the hospital, Anna spoke to the gathered crowd of mothers, reporters, and strangers who had come to hear her story. Her voice was tired but fierce. They told us to be silent. They told us to accept lies as truth. But a mother's heart does not forget. Even if we never find our children, the world now knows what was done here, and because we spoke, it can never be hidden again. The crowd lit candles, their glow piercing the darkness. A chorus of voices rose, mothers, daughters, even men who had once doubted now chanting together, for the children, for the truth. Anna closed her eyes. For a moment, she imagined the weight of her son in her arms, the warmth of his cheek against hers. Perhaps she would never hold him again. But she had given him something even greater, a name, a history, and the proof that his life was stolen, not lost. Evil hides behind silence. Institutions may wield power, money, and fear, but the courage of a single voice can unravel their lies. Anna's grief became a fire that lit the way for others. And though she may never reclaim what was taken, her fight gave stolen children back their truth. If this story moved you, subscribe. More untold truths await, and every story deserves to be heard.